Last winter, I looked at 5 basic Canadian blended whiskies: Crown Royal, Canadian Mist, Seagram's VO, Canadian Club 1858, and Black Velvet. The Canadian Club won that tournament, but Black Velvet came in second place. So now I'm conducting Level 2 Canadian Whisky Tournament, and we have looked at VO Gold, VO Black. We've looked at Canadian Club Rye, Canadian Club 9-year-old, Canadian Club 12-year-old, and now Black Velvet Reserve. 8 years. Just the facts. This is a blended whiskey distilled in Alberta, 80 proof, 8-year-old, for about $21. The website is now advertising their reserve as a 10-year-old, so this bottle may be disappearing. It does seem to be readily available right now, though. Tasting notes: sweet like caramel and molasses, hints of maple syrup. Add just a little bit of wood, leather, tobacco. I like it. It's very nice. Score: 81. Letter grade for drinkability: B+. My recommendation: this whiskey has a distinctive flavor that represents Alberta very well, for a very good price and value. If you want a bit more of a sweet flavor than either Canadian Club or Crown Royal, the Black Velvet may be for you. Caution though, this very popular whiskey is hated by all the whiskey pros. Let's get into the details. History. The history of this Canadian whiskey is a bit more mysterious than it really should be, either because the company website simply doesn't want you to go into the history of the whiskey before it was named Black Velvet, or because somewhere along the line somebody made up a story that's just not true, but is pretty cool, sort of, and everyone took a hold of that story and ran with it. The Black Velvet website tells the story that the whiskey came out of the first barrel in 1951, but then says the brand was originally called Black Label. But we don't have a real history on the Black Label aspect. And when the distiller Jack Napier tasted this, he changed the name from Black Label to Black Velvet because it was smooth as velvet. Right. So does this mean that the whiskey had a long history as Black Label prior to 1951? I really couldn't figure that one out. And that's what almost every other website says, and so that's the story that I've heard, and I'll relate here. The old story says that this whiskey was issued to naval officers during World War II who were on submarines. Some say it was issued to Canadian naval submarine officers. One was even very specific and said it was on subs at the Battle of Midway. Well, when I search for Black Label whiskey online, I get nothing but Johnny Walker Black. And that whiskey dates back to 1909. And I don't think the Canadian Navy had submarines in World War II, and submarines played almost no part in Battle of Midway. That was an aircraft carrier fight. So I'm not sure about that story. It sounds a little hokey to me. Black Velvet on the Wikipedia article explains their version of the history by saying the owner of Black Label was Palliser or Lethbridge Distillery in Lethbridge, Alberta. And the distillery opened in 1932 for gin and vodka, and that was called Black Label until master distiller Jack Napier changed it to Black Velvet in the late 1940s. Well, is it 51 or is it the late 40s? I don't know. A lot of contradictions there. But seriously, the Wikipedia, there you go, Wikipedia, was so poorly written it was hard to figure out exactly what they were trying to say. And I just find that a lot in the history of whiskeys. Well, Heaven Hill has acquired Black Velvet whiskey. Beverage Dynamics says August 12th of 2019. There's an article on Heaven Hill acquiring Black Velvet, and it gives a bit more history, explaining that Walter and Alfred Gilby of England were distilling gin in 1872 and expanded to Canada in 1906. They built the distillery in Lethbridge in 1933, and they say Black Velvet was developed in 1946, but didn't hit the market until 1951. So which is it? More confusion. To make matters worse, the Black Velvet website actually changed this week. It was updated while I was researching this stuff again. So, earlier in the week, the website was one way. Later in the week, the website had changed and updated, and this disappeared, and a 10-year-old showed up, and a lot of the history was kind of rewritten, but still it's not very clear. So anyway, only 3 out of 5 points for history, because the history of this whiskey is confused. All right. Bottle, label, and marketing. The bottle for the Reserve is a 6-sided chiseled glass look. All right. So it's kind of similar to Crown Royal with that chiseled glass look going on there, which is kind of cool. I like the bottle. Okay. Definitely attractive bottle. Gold, red, and black are the colors, and that's very striking. There's some kind of crest on the bottle that can give the appearance of being a royal warrant. However, Black Velvet has never received a royal warrant, so the crest is a little bit deceiving. I don't know what that means. Could not find any information on the crest. Now, there's a short hoo-ha statement on the back of the bottle. Smooth and luxurious, Black Velvet Reserve is known for its silky taste and mellow character. Aged 8 years in hand-selected oak barrels, the result is a premium sipping whiskey whose distinctive flavor complements any occasion. Hoo-ha. I did not find any advertisements online, on YouTube for this. There were several advertisements that were way older for regular Black Velvet, 12 years ago, 15, 17 years ago, but nothing for this one. So 4 out of 5 for bottle, label, and marketing. Appearance. This is, very attractive in the bottle, but in the glass, it's really pretty light. So, that's about a 2 out of 5. Although I look back in my notes, I reviewed regular Black Velvet about 3 or 4 years ago, and I gave it a 3 out of 5. But my rating scheme has changed over the years, so that's a 2. Composition. Heaven Hill owns this brand now, and the whiskey is shipped from Lethbridge, Alberta to Kentucky for bottling. For Canadian sales and overseas, it is bottled at Lethbridge, but for American purposes, it is shipped to Kentucky. They use glacier water from Canada. Makes sense. Grain from Canada and the United States. I don't have a mash bill, but they say that it uses corn, rye, and malted barley. Black Velvet, they say, is blended at birth, meaning they blend first and then age, whereas in most other Canadian whiskeys, they age separately and then blend after aging. The website is terminally confusing under the manufacturing processes here. It makes it look like the whiskey is aged for a total of 11 years, but this reserve is aged for 8 years. And so, in other words, there's confusion on the website about their history and about how they make this. Now, they do talk about the weather in Alberta, and that's good. This is a good point. The whiskey is aged in a place that has very hot summers and long, cold, bitter winters. So the rickhouses are heated because you got a lot of sub-zero going on there in Canada. They use column stills to make this and a fully automated distilling process in Lethbridge. But they do have a team of tasters to give it a human touch. So I'm not entirely sure what the fully automated distilling process is, but it sounded very mechanical and computerized, and it's like, okay, but we do have humans taste it. Well, that's good that the androids haven't taken over. So 12 out of 15 for composition, and if you get a metallic taste, well, you know where it came from. Nosing this whiskey. Well, let's pull this whiskey up here in the glass. Got a whiskey sweetness. some caramel and honey. I always get hints of maple syrup. I don't know if it's a psyop by the Canadians or what. Maybe a touch of vanilla. This is a pleasant nose. It's not harsh by any way, not any means, but it is fairly light. But, you know, I can smell something there, so that's an 8 out of 10. My nose is inadequate for the smelling of whiskeys. All right, time to dive in for a taste. And the taste is true to the nose. Very sweet, but sweet in the right direction for me. It's not artificial sweet. This is caramel, molasses, honey with maple syrup. I always get the maple syrup, which is good. I love maple syrup. Yeah. Add a bit of wood. Leather. Tobacco. I mean, this is right in my wheelhouse. I really do not understand all the hate for this whiskey that's out there. The whiskey pros love to hate on Black Velvet. And yet, this is a huge bestseller. And some people say, well, it's popular because it's cheap. Maybe so. But for me, I like how it tastes. 13 out of 15. No, 22 out of 25. I'm sorry. For taste. Mouthfeel, burn, and finish. It's not thin. I'm going to give it a medium mouthfeel. I do get a very pleasant, slight burn at the back of the palate, heading to the throat, a little bit up. Nothing bad there. This is not a bad ethanol burn. This is a beautiful whiskey burn, which I like. So it's perfect. The finish is actually longer than expected. The core flavors are lingering quite a while. And so that's the syrup, the wood, tobacco, leather notes. That's still going on. So I'm getting a pretty long finish there. So for mouthfeel, burn, and finish, a 13 out of 15 for me. Versatility. I like it neat. Very nice. At 80 proof, I think it's going to be weak under ice for me, but it would probably make a good cocktail. I have never done a cocktail with this, so stand by. Let's go make an old-fashioned. And we're back with an old-fashioned. So what I've got the Black Velvet in here. For a sweetener, I use just a little bit of maple syrup to enhance that maple flavor I get with Canadian whiskeys. My bitters, I'm doing experiments here. Some Fee Brothers Aztec chocolate bitters. Right there. And Fee Brothers Turkish tobacco bitters. Because again, when I taste this whiskey, I get maple syrup, I get wood, I get leather, tobacco, oak. Not so much chocolate, but the chocolate works with this. I put 2 Luxardo cherries in there and an orange peel. And that is really quite good. So I am digging these 2 non-standard bitters here with Canadian whiskeys. I just got that tobacco bitters in the other day, so it's the first time I've used it. I opened it here. And that works. I don't know what they have in there. Cigarette ashes, cigar residue, who knows? All right, so for versatility, I'm going to say a 4 out of 5 because at 80 proof and just a, a little bit weak, yeah, 4 out of 5. But still, this makes a very good old fashioned. I'm happy with this. In fact, I think I'm going to raise that to a 5 out of 5. There you go. That's going to bump my score up to an 82. But that's a very good old fashioned. See, I hadn't made any cocktails with this thing. I haven't tried it this much. So there you go. Bump the score up by 1. 5 out of 5 for versatility, price, value, and availability. Total wine, $20.99 for a 1.75 liter. Specs, $22.39 for a 1.75, and goody goody, $20.99 for a 175. That's not right. Is that right? This is a 170. What did I do? Stand by. Production problems. All right, I have double checked the websites, and none of them have the 750 anymore. I got this at Goody Goody, and I think I paid about $20 for this. But now all the websites are saying 1.75, and they're all about the same price I paid for this. Given the fact that the website says 10-year-old now, I think they're trying to dump the 8-year-old. And so they've lowered the price on that 1.75. So this would be a great time to buy that, actually, because I think I paid about $20 for this when I bought it. And it's not been that long ago. It's in the last year. And maybe 2 years ago. Yeah, I bet it's 2 years ago. So they're going to change out to the 10, and they're dumping these. That's what's happening. Because this was originally about twice the price of the regular black velvet, and with the regular black velvet's about 11, so this was about 20, and I think it's a good price. This is a good product. I really like it. So price, value, and availability. It's still available at all of the stores that I shop at in Fort Worth. But the 750 is not available. It's all under 1.75 now. So I think that's what's going on. So 9 out of 10 for price, value, and availability. Because now you've got to buy the 1.75, I guess, until the 10-year-old comes out. So bonus points. To me, this is an enjoyable drink. I like the taste. It is a much hated whiskey in the professional ranks, I should say. But amongst the hoi polloi that I am a part of, Black Velvet's very popular. However, this is the reserve. I see no reviews for this one. Well, no. There are some reviews. There's no advertisements for this one. And so, obviously, if this is twice the price, a lot of people do buy this because it's $11 for the regular. So there's that. But I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 for bonus points. So I'm bumping my score up to an 82. I started off as an 81, but having now made an old fashioned with this, I really like it in that way. So this is definitely versatile. And again, a lot of people put their whiskey on ice. I do not. So it's hard for me to judge that. So my analysis and recommendation, when I check reviews for Black Velvet, again, there's just not much out there for this one. And the reviews in general tend toward being dismissive and terrible. Whiskey pros, snobs don't like this brand, but amongst the normal population, it's incredibly popular. However, the reserve, again, does not share that low cost, and so, twice as much for the basic bottle. Now, granted, it is aged twice as long, and I think that really does help. But the increase in drinkability, is it twice as good? Maybe not. Nonetheless, for about $21 a bottle, I really do like this bottle, and I will look forward to the 10-year. And so I don't understand the hatred for this brand amongst the pros. I don't get it. It's got a very distinctive flavor that represents Alberta well for a very good price and value. If you want a bit more sweet flavor than either Canadian Club or Crown Royal, Black Velvet may be for you. If I was offered this anywhere, I would gladly accept it. So, next up in the Canadian Whisky Tournament is going to be a one-on-one match between Black Velvet Regular and the 8-year Reserve. So then we'll see if it's really worth paying twice as much for. Until then, this is Stab the Dragon Productions out here.